Relative, like I was a distant cousin she saw once a decade. Like acknowledging our connection would cost her something she couldn't afford to lose. I told myself I was being sensitive, emotional, reading too much into things. But I wasn't. I was right. And now, with Thanksgiving 3 days away and a text from my mother telling me I wasn't welcome, there was finally no denying what I'd been refusing to see. They loved what I gave, not who I was. Thanksgiving Day arrived gray and cold. I woke up at 6 a.m. anyway, muscle memory from years of being the one who arrived early to help. Lay in bed for 20 minutes staring at the ceiling, listening to my neighbor's kids run around upstairs, smelling whatever they were roasting drift through the vents. The Martinez family. 3 generations under one roof. I'd fixed their furnace last winter when the pilot light kept dying. Mrs. Martinez had pressed a plate of tamales into my hands and refused to let me leave until I'd eaten at least 2. "Familia," she'd said, patting my cheek. "You come back anytime." I wondered if she was making tamales today, if her kids were setting the table, if her husband was arguing with the turkey temperature like he did every year, certain that 325 was too low, certain that this was the year he'd prove everyone wrong. I didn't have a turkey, didn't have pies cooling on the counter, didn't have a single text from anyone in my family. Around 10 a.m. I got out of bed, showered, dressed in jeans and my warmest flannel, made coffee that I didn't really want and drank it standing at the kitchen window, watching the gray sky press down on the city. At noon, I got in my truck and drove. No destination, just away. I ended up at a diner off Aurora, the kind of place you don't notice unless you're specifically looking for it. Cracked vinyl seats in faded red. A menu laminated so many times the letters are wearing off. Neon sign in the window advertising pie that was definitely not fresh, but somehow still cost $8 a slice. The place was almost empty. Just me and an old man 3 booths over, nursing coffee he'd probably been working on since breakfast. A waitress behind the counter, flipping through her phone, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. I slid into a booth by the window. She appeared a moment later with a pot and a weary smile. Name tag, Cheryl. "What can I get you, hun?" "Turkey dinner special." She wrote it down without comment, disappeared into the kitchen. I watched the traffic crawl by on Aurora, families in minivans presumably heading to dinners of their own. Kids in backseats, faces pressed to windows. Someone's grandmother clutching a casserole dish on her lap. Normal people, normal lives, normal Thanksgivings. Cheryl came back 10 minutes later with my food. Sliced white meat, instant mashed potatoes, canned gravy that had definitely been sitting in a warmer for at least an hour, a roll that had seen better days. She set it down in front of me and said, "On the house, sweetheart. No one should eat alone today." I didn't cry until I got back to my truck. Then I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, watching my breath fog the windshield and let myself feel the full weight of it. My family had chosen a dinner party over me, and the worst part, they probably weren't even thinking about me at all. At 6 p.m., I made the mistake of opening Instagram. There they were, smiling family photos. The perfectly set dinner table, my mother's china, my grandmother's candlesticks, the cloth napkins I'd ironed 100 times for holidays past. Candles lit, wine poured. Serafina in a sleek burgundy dress, beaming next to Dorian and his parents. Mr. Whitmore in a navy blazer, Mrs. Whitmore in pearls. Exactly the kind of people my sister had always wanted to impress. Caption: "So grateful to spend the holidays with the people who matter most." I zoomed in, counted the place settings. 12 chairs, 12 wine glasses, 12 napkins folded into perfect fans. No empty seat, no place card with my name. No acknowledgement that I had ever existed. I closed the app, put my phone in the glove compartment, drove home in silence. The next morning I woke up feeling different, not better, not healed, not suddenly at peace with any of it. Just clear. The kind of clarity that only comes when you finally stop making excuses for people who don't deserve them. I made coffee. Sat at my kitchen table. Linoleum floor, second-hand chairs I'd found at a flea market and reupholstered myself. A little succulent on the windowsill that had somehow survived 2 years of my neglect. Then I opened my laptop. Logging into the university payment portal had become second nature over the years. Every semester, like clockwork, log in, check the balance, make the payment. Save the receipt in a folder labeled SS Tuition. I knew the password to Serafina's student account better than I knew my own streaming logins. I typed it so many times my fingers remembered the sequence without needing my brain to intervene. I typed it in. The screen loaded. Due date, 2 weeks. Balance, $21,500. I stared at the number. It wasn't just digits on a screen. It was every weekend I'd worked instead of resting. Every vacation I didn't take. Every time I said, I'll treat myself later and never did. 3 years, 8 semesters, over $100,000. And not once, had she ever said thank you in a way that felt real. Not once had she introduced me without that hesitation, that slight drop in her voice, that careful choice of words. Relative. I thought about all the times I'd put her first. The late-night calls. Elle, I don't understand torts. Can you explain it to me? I didn't know torts. I was an HVAC technician, but I listened. Stayed on the phone for 2 hours while she talked through her confusion, offered what comfort I could. You'll figure it out. You always do. The rent transfers. Elle, my roommate moved out and I can't cover the full amount this month. Just this once, I promise I'll pay you back. She never did. Not once. The textbooks, the fees, the emergency fund deposits. The I'll pay you back promises that evaporated the moment her account balance was no longer negative. I scrolled to the payment settings. Found my bank account listed under saved payers. Clicked. Remove payment method. A small pop-up appeared. Are you sure you want to remove this account as a payer? This action cannot be undone. For a second, I just stared at the prompt. My reflection faintly visible in the black border of the screen. Messy bun. Sweatshirt with my company logo. Dark circles under my eyes. The kind of woman my sister was ashamed to be seen with. I thought about Cheryl, the waitress, who didn't know me from any other stranger, bringing me free turkey because she couldn't stand to watch someone eat alone on a holiday. I thought about Mrs. Martinez, pressing tamales into my hands and calling me familia. I thought about my mother's text. We just think it's better if we keep this dinner intimate. I thought about the empty chair that wasn't empty because there was no chair at all. Then I clicked yes. The screen refreshed. Payment method, none. Balance due, unchanged. Something in my chest shifted. Not satisfaction, not revenge, just release. The second my laptop snapped shut, my phone buzzed. Mom, I let it ring. Then it rang again, and again. By the 4th call, I sighed and picked up. Elle! Her voice was sharp, exasperated, like she'd started the argument before I even answered. What are you doing? Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't play games with me. Your sister just called hysterical saying you cut off her tuition payment. Tell me that's not true. It's true. Silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. Elle, how could you be so cruel? Cruel, I laughed, short, humorless. That's an interesting word choice, considering she's the one who got me disinvited from Thanksgiving because she was embarrassed by me. She was just trying to make a good impression on Dorian's family, Mom argued, her tone shifting into that syrupy guilt trip mode she'd perfected over decades. She's young, she doesn't think things through. She's 24, Mom. She's old enough to know exactly what she's doing. You promised you'd support her through school. No, I gripped my coffee mug tighter. I promised to help my sister, not someone who treats me like I'm disposable. She didn't mean it that way. She meant it exactly that way. Mom let out a frustrated sigh. You're overreacting. Family makes sacrifices for each other. That's just what we do. Family. I repeated the word slowly, tasting it. Funny how family only applies when I'm the one giving. When it's my turn to expect a little basic respect, suddenly I'm asking for too much. She needs this, Elle. So did I, Mom. Silence. For once, no rehearsed lines about what's best for the family. No emotional blackmail about how all her hard work would be wasted. No guilt tripping about how, after everything we've done for you, just silence. "I'm done," I said quietly. "Elle, don't be like this. I mean it." My voice was steady, calm, certain. "I've spent years paying for her education, covering every expense, making sure she never had to worry about a damn thing. And the one time I needed her to just acknowledge me, she chose to erase me instead. You're being so dramatic. I think we're done here." "Elle, wait," I hung up. My pulse hammered in my ears. I had done it. Actually done it. I should have felt guilty. Maybe a small part of me did. But it was buried deep, under years of resentment and exhaustion and the quiet, accumulating weight of never being enough. Instead, I felt something else. Something dangerously close to peace. Serafina's first voicemail came at 11 p.m. "Elle, what the hell? I just got an email from the university saying my tuition payment was declined. This has to be a mistake. Tell me this is a mistake. Call me back." I didn't call. The second voicemail came an hour later. "Elle, seriously, what's going on? I can't register for next semester if this isn't fixed. You know that, right? You can't just disappear on me like this." I set my phone face down on the nightstand. The third voicemail came at 2 a.m. "If you don't fix this, I won't be able to enroll. You're literally ruining everything I've worked for." Everything I've worked for, not everything we built together. Not everything you helped me achieve. Not everything I've been given. Just her work, her future, her life. I was just the funding source. And funding sources don't get invited to the celebration. When Serafina couldn't reach me, she went to the next available pillar in her life. Dorian. She showed up at his apartment in a storm, hair half pulled back, mascara smudged, breath coming in uneven bursts. The second he opened the door, she pushed past him and started pacing his living room like a caged animal. "I can't believe this. Elle cut me off just like that. No warning, no explanation, nothing." Dorian shut the door slowly, turning to face her. "Hold on, Elle, your sister Elle?" "Yes," she snapped. "I just got the email. My tuition payment didn't go through. I've been calling her all day and she won't answer me." Dorian sank onto the couch, confusion flickering across his face. "I thought your parents were paying for school." She froze. The truth, the full truth, was something she had never told him. "Well, I mean they help," she said, her voice suddenly light, casual. "But Elle was, covering most of it. It's not a big deal." "How much is most?" His tone had changed. The air in the room shifted. She laughed, high, thin, brittle. "I don't know, a few payments here and there." Serafina. Just her name. But it was enough to slice through her excuses. His voice was sharper now. "How much?" Her shoulders dropped. "All of it," she muttered. He stared at her. "Your sister has been paying for your entire education, this whole time, and you let me believe your parents were covering it." She waved a hand, dismissive. "I didn't want you to think I was some charity case. It doesn't matter who pays. The point is, no, it does matter." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes locked on hers. "It matters that you lied. It matters that you were perfectly fine benefiting from her while pretending she didn't exist when it didn't suit your image. That's not fair, isn't it?" He let out a humorless laugh. "Because from what I've seen, you erased her the moment she didn't fit into the picture you wanted to paint." Her cheeks burned. "That's not what happened." "Then what happened?" She opened her mouth, closed it. Nothing came out. "Your mother told me about Thanksgiving," Dorian said quietly. "Elle wasn't there, and I heard a few comments about keeping things formal, about impressions." Her throat went dry. "Dorian, that had nothing to do with. You uninvited the person paying for your entire law degree," he said slowly, like he still couldn't quite believe it. "Because you were embarrassed by what she does for a living." Silence. "I can't be with someone who lies this easily, Serafina." He stood up, grabbed his keys. "Where are you going?" Her voice cracked. "I need some space." "Wait, you're seriously mad at me over this?" He looked at her like he was seeing a stranger. "I don't even know who you are." The door closed behind him. She waited hours for him to come back. He didn't. The next morning, Serafina woke up to an email that made her stomach drop. Subject: Final warning, tuition payment past due. Dear Miss Calloway, this is your final notice regarding your outstanding tuition balance of $21,500. If payment is not received within 48 hours, you will be automatically unenrolled from your courses for the spring semester. Please note that unenrollment may affect your financial aid eligibility, student visa status, if applicable, and academic standing. Reinstatement is not guaranteed and may incur additional fees. Sincerely, University Finance Office. She clicked into the student portal. Balance, $21,500. Pending payments, none. Extensions, none. Miracles, none. Her brain scrambled for options. Loans. She could get a loan. She pulled up a lender's website and started filling in fields, thumb flying across the screen. Parent information required. Cosigner required. Current debt load, $47,000. She typed in our parents' details. Submitted. Denied. Bad credit. Too much outstanding debt. She tried a different lender. Denied. Another. Denied. Another. Denied. Her hands clenched into fists. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. This wasn't her life. She scrolled through her contacts. Dorian, her thumb hovered over his name. Tapped. Voicemail again, voicemail. Tears stung her eyes. She went to the next person on the list. L. Her thumb pressed call. The line didn't even ring. User has blocked you. She stared at the screen. For the first time in her adult life, there was no safety net. No one left to swoop in with a transfer or a solution. No one to call. No one to beg. For the first time, she was alone. Serafina did what she always did when backed into a corner. She lashed out. At me. At the narrative. At anyone who would listen. It started subtly. Clients I'd had for years suddenly seemed cooler, distant. They'd still book appointments, still pay their invoices on time, but something had shifted. Mrs. Carter. I'd been servicing her HVAC system for 6 years. Fixed her heat in February when a pipe burst. Replaced her ancient AC unit during the hottest summer we'd had in a decade. When her dog got sick, I was the one who helped her carry him to the car. After my Thanksgiving route, I did a routine maintenance check at her house. She followed me out to the truck. I never thought you'd abandon your own sister like that, Elle, she said. Her voice was crisp with disapproval. Family is supposed to take care of each other. I froze, my clipboard halfway back into my bag. Excuse me, she shook her head. I just didn't think you were the kind of person to turn your back on your own blood. There it was. The line, word for word, practically, delivered right on cue. I forced a tight smile. Well, Mrs. Carter, I suppose that depends on which version of the story you've heard. She pursed her lips but didn't respond. Didn't ask for my side. Didn't wonder if there was more to it. Just walked back into her house, leaving me standing in the driveway with my jaw clenched. I got into my truck, pulled out my phone, and opened social media. And there it was. Serafina had been busy. Her posts were vague. She was too smart to name names directly, but it didn't take a genius to figure out who she was talking about. Some people love money more than family. So disappointing. I always believed in supporting your siblings. Guess not everyone feels the same. When people show you who they really are, believe them. The comments were full of sympathy. I can't believe your own sister would do that. You deserve so much better, girl. You've always had the kindest heart. Some people don't know how good they have it. Family friends, distant cousins, people who hadn't texted me once since Thanksgiving, all lined up under her posts, handing her validation like candy. My phone started ringing. Aunt Delilah, Uncle Larry, Mom, again and again. Dad, once. He didn't leave a voicemail. Each call buzzing like an accusation. Each name lighting up my screen like a warning. I didn't answer a single one. I already knew the script. How could you do this to your sister? She's worked so hard. You're tearing this family apart. We raised you better than this. I'd heard it for years. This time I was done playing my role. I didn't call ahead. Didn't send a heads-up text. Didn't give her time to rehearse a new set of lies or paint herself as the victim before I even got there. I just got in my truck and drove. Her apartment complex hadn't changed since the last time I'd visited, which was, I realized, over a year ago. Same beige stucco. Same potted plants struggling to survive on the balconies. Same security door that never quite latched properly. I'd paid her first 3 months' rent here. Co-signed the lease. She'd thank me profusely, promised to pay me back as soon as she got on her feet. That was 3 years ago. I walked up the concrete steps and knocked hard on her door. 3 sharp knocks that echoed down the hallway. A long pause, then footsteps. The door swung open. Serafina stood there in leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, phone still in her hand. Her eyes widened just a fraction when she saw me, then smoothed over like she was pulling on a mask. "Elle," she said, airy and practiced. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" I walked past her into the apartment. Didn't ask permission. She scoffed and closed the door sharply behind me. "Oh, come in, why don't you?" I turned to face her. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" She blinked. Feigned innocence so hard it was almost funny. "I have no idea what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone, opened one of her posts, and held it up so she could see her own words glowing back at her. "Oh, you don't. Because this looks a hell of a lot like you trying to paint me as some kind of heartless monster." Her lips curled into a smirk. "I'm just telling the truth." "The truth?" I took a slow step toward her. "The truth is I paid your tuition for 3 years while you pretended I didn't exist. The truth is I gave you everything, and you still acted like I was beneath you." She rolled her eyes. "And now you're mad because people are finally seeing who you really are." My jaw clenched, but my voice stayed calm. "No, Serafina, I'm not mad that people are seeing who I am. I'm mad that, for the first time, people are finally starting to see who you are." Her smirk faltered, just for a second. She straightened, lifting her chin. "Please, you think people are going to turn on me? I've built relationships. Connections, professors, classmates, colleagues, people who matter." She gestured at me, at my work shirt, at my boots. "Meanwhile, you, what? Fix air conditioners." She let out a little laugh. "Do you really think that makes you someone?" The old me would have flinched, would have shrunk, would have questioned myself. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I never was. This me didn't. This me smiled, slow and cold. "Go ahead, Serafina. Keep lying. Keep playing the victim. Keep convincing everyone you're some innocent angel who got blindsided by her evil, greedy sister." My hand closed around the doorknob. I glanced back at her one last time. "Because when this all crashes down on you, and it will, I won't be there to save you." I walked out, shut the door behind me, didn't look back. A week later, she brought the fight to my territory. Monday morning. Staff meeting. We were gathered around the table in the back office. Me, Harry, Marcus, Jenna, and the 2 new apprentices we'd hired for the winter season. Coffee in mismatched mugs. A box of donuts someone had picked up on the way in. The whiteboard covered in route schedules and equipment codes. Normal morning. We were going over the emergency on-call rotations when the front door slammed open so hard the glass rattled in the frame. Every head in the room turned. Serafina stood in the doorway, hair a mess, eyes red and swollen, breath coming in short, jagged bursts. "You ruined my life." Half the room flinched. The other half just stared. I set my clipboard down slowly. Inside, my heart rate barely changed. "No," I said, my voice even, calm. "I stopped paying for it. You ruined it yourself." You could have heard a screw drop. My technicians froze with their pens over their notepads. The 2 apprentices exchanged confused glances. Jenna's hand hovered over the phone, ready to call someone, security maybe, or the police. Serafina stomped into the room, ignoring everyone else. "You abandoned me. You left me with nothing. How could you do this to your own sister?" I crossed my arms. "That's funny. I don't remember you calling me your sister when you were lying to your boyfriend about where your tuition money came from." "That's different, is it?" I tilted my head. "Because from where I'm standing, it seems like you only remember we're related when your bank account is empty." Her eyes darted wildly around the room, scanning faces, looking for anyone to back her up. No one moved. No one spoke. No one rushed to comfort her. She went for the only move she had left. Volume. She abandoned her own family. Her voice rose, hitting every corner of the office. She left me completely stranded. She's selfish. She only cares about herself. She's not who you all think she is. Her words hung in the air. Heavy, accusatory. Nobody moved. From the corner of the room, my senior tech set down his coffee. Harry, 58 years old, 32 years in the trade. Grizzled, quiet, with the kind of authority that comes from fixing things for 3 decades and never needing to raise your voice about it. He stepped forward. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "you need to leave." Serafina whipped around. "Excuse me, this is a place of business, you're disrupting it." "I'm her sister," Harry blinked once. "And this is her business. You're trespassing." You could practically see the word land. Trespassing. For the first time, she seemed to realize that this wasn't her stage. That here, in my building, status didn't come from who your boyfriend's parents were or what law school you attended. It came from who showed up early and stayed late, who answered emergency calls at 2 a.m. when someone's heat went out in December, who paid the bills and met payroll and kept the lights on. "You don't understand," her voice cracked. "She's leaving me with nothing. She's ruining my future," Harry shrugged. "No, ma'am." His voice was flat, unimpressed. "She just stopped letting you take advantage of her." One of my office staff had already quietly called building security. 2 uniformed guards stepped inside, assessed the situation in seconds, and moved to stand on either side of her. "Ma'am, we're going to have to ask you to leave." She dug her heels in, tears spilling over now, rage and humiliation twisting across her face. "This is my sister's business, and she's asked you to leave." The guard's voice was patient but firm. "Let's go." They escorted her out while she threw every insult she could think of over her shoulder at me. "You'll regret this. Everyone will know what you did. You're dead to me." I didn't respond, didn't follow, didn't even watch her go all the way. Because this wasn't a scene that needed my participation. This was just the final collapse of something I'd been propping up for years, and I had finally let it fall. After the door closed behind her, the office stayed still for a long moment. Harry picked up his coffee, took a sip. "All right, people. Break's over. Let's get back to work." The meeting resumed. Roots, rotations, bonuses, normal life. That night, I sat on my couch with a beer I didn't really want and thought about my mother's face the last time I saw her. Not at Thanksgiving. I wasn't there, remember. The time before that. A random Sunday in October. I'd stopped by the house to drop off a check, not for tuition, just to help with some unexpected repair. The water heater had died, and Mom was panicking about the cost. I wrote a check for the full amount and handed it to her across the kitchen counter. She'd hugged me goodbye, told me I looked tired, asked if I could help out with Serafina's winter coat. I said yes. I always said yes. I wonder now if she ever lay awake at night, thinking about all the yesies she never thanked me for, all the checks I wrote without being asked, all the bills I paid without being reminded, all the times I showed up and she just accepted it, like it was owed, like it was automatic. Like I was a utility that would keep running as long as she never looked too closely at how it worked. Probably not. Some people don't lie awake. They just sleep. A few days later, my phone lit up with a name that didn't make my chest clench. Genevieve. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Hey. Her voice was softer than usual. No edge, no script, just her. "I just wanted to check in, see how you're holding up." I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the overcast sky. "Honestly, better than I thought I would." "I figured," she said, "but I also figured you'd want to know what's going on with them." I could have said no, could have told her I didn't care, but that would have been a lie. "So, Serafina moved back home," she said. "She's taking a break from school. Tells everyone she's reassessing her options." I snorted softly. "Does anyone know why?" "They know the surface version. She's blaming you, obviously. Elle bilated on me and I had no choice but to pause my education." And your parents, they're struggling. Genevieve chose her words carefully. Bills are catching up. They can't help her like she always assumed they could. Of course they couldn't. If they'd had that kind of money, I wouldn't have been funding everything alone in the first place. But of course, Genevieve added, they won't admit you were right. They're still blaming you for everything, as if it's your fault she burned every bridge she had. I took a long sip of cold coffee. Sounds about right. They'll never change, Elle. I hope you know that. I do, I said quietly. I think I always knew, I just wasn't ready to accept it before. Well, she said, for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. A small smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. Thanks, Jen. Anytime, and hey, Merry Christmas. You deserve a good one this year. We hung up. For a few seconds, I just sat there, letting the words, you deserve a good one, echo in my mind. Because for the first time in a long time, I actually believed her. The day before Christmas Eve, I was at my desk, staring at expansion plans for my company. Not someone else's future. Not someone else's tuition. Mine. The business was growing faster than I'd ever imagined when I first scraped together enough to rent a dingy shop space in an industrial park. That first year, it was just me and a used truck I'd bought off Craigslist. I took whatever jobs I could get. Residential repairs, maintenance contracts, emergency calls at 3 a.m. when someone's furnace died in January. I worked 7 days a week, sometimes 12 hours a day, sometimes more. I learned how to diagnose problems by sound, how to source parts cheaper than my competitors, how to write invoices and manage payroll and deal with difficult customers. I built this from nothing. Now I had 6 employees, a fleet of 4 trucks, a reputation in the community for honest work and fair prices, more clients than I could handle, more calls coming in from people who valued good work over shiny titles, more expansion plans spread across my desk, waiting for my signature. For so long, my success had felt like something I had to minimize, hide, play small about. Because in my family's eyes, if I wasn't wearing a blazer and working in an office, it didn't really count. It's just a trade, Mom had said once, when I told her I was starting my own business. Nothing to be ashamed of, but it's not exactly professional. Not exactly professional. Not exactly impressive. Not exactly enough. But now I looked at those blueprints, employment projections, investment spreadsheets, and I didn't feel the urge to apologize for a single thing. I wasn't ashamed of the life I'd built. I was proud of it, and I was finally allowing myself to be. That night, as I was getting ready for bed, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my mother. Merry Christmas, Elle, we miss you, let's talk. I stared at those 3 sentences for a long time. A year ago, I would have jumped at the message. My heart would have raced. My fingers would have hovered over reply, already typing some version of, I miss you too. I'm sorry. Let's work this out. But standing there in the quiet of my own bedroom, surrounded by things I'd bought with my own money, in a home I paid for every month, I felt something else. Calm, clarity, not cruelty, not spite, just self-respect. I took a deep breath, exhaled slowly. Then I deleted the message, not because I wanted to punish her, but because I had nothing left to say. For the first time in my life, I chose myself, and it felt damn good. You know what I do for a living? I fix things. Furnaces that won't kick on. AC units that die in August heat waves. Heat pumps that freeze over in January. I show up with my tools and my truck and my 2 hands, and I figure out what's broken and I fix it. That's what I thought family was. Something you maintain. Something you repair. Something you keep running even when it's old and inefficient and costing you more than it's worth. But here's what I learned. You can't fix a system that was designed to fail you. You can't repair a furnace that was never built to heat your corner of the house. You can't maintain a relationship where you're the only one who ever picks up a wrench. Some people don't want maintenance. They want subsidy. They don't want you to fix the unit. They want you to keep paying the electric bill so they never have to feel the cold. And that's not family. That's just being someone else's utility. So if you're watching this, And you're the one who's always showing up with the toolbox while everyone else just enjoys the warmth. If you're the one who stays late, works weekends, skips vacations, postpones your own dreams because someone else needs something right now. If you're the one who's been told, directly or indirectly, that what you do isn't good enough, isn't impressive enough, isn't you enough, ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped being the repair person? What would happen if you let the system fail? What would happen if you took your skills, your labor, your dignity, and built something that actually works? Not for them, for you. I build things now, not repairs, not patches, not temporary fixes for people who never plan to pay the bill. I build a company, a crew, a life. And for the first time, I'm not cold. That's not revenge. That's just finally learning how to heat your own house. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever been the one holding everything together while someone else got the credit? Have you ever realized that the people who shout, family first, the loudest are the same ones who only call when they need something? Have you ever had to walk away, not because you stopped loving them, but because you finally started loving yourself? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. If this story resonated with you, if it made you feel a little less alone, a little more seen, drop a 1 in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. If it didn't land with you, tell me why. I'm not afraid of different perspectives. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you want more stories like this, stories about people finally choosing themselves, finally setting boundaries, finally saying enough, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Trust me, there are plenty more stories to tell. Thank you for spending this time with me. And remember, you're not an ATM, you're not a backup generator, you're not a utility. You're the one who knows how to fix things. And the most important thing you'll ever repair is yourself. I'll see you in the next one. 3 days before Thanksgiving, my mother sent me a text. I was standing in the supply closet of my shop, counting refrigerant canisters and making a mental list of what I needed to order before the holiday rush. The usual chaos, the usual grind, the usual life I'd built with my own 2 hands. My phone buzzed against the metal shelf. I glanced at the screen. Mom. I smiled automatically, wiping grease off my fingers with a shop rag. Probably about the pie situation. Every year, the same question, pecan or pumpkin? Every year, the same answer. Both, obviously, because Uncle Larry will throw a fit if there's no pecan and Aunt Delilah is gluten-free, and somehow that means pumpkin is the only acceptable option. I opened the message. Dr. and Mrs. Whitmore are very traditional. We just think it's better if we keep this dinner intimate, just immediate family, you understand. I read it once, then again, then a 3rd time, because surely I was missing something. Surely there was a follow-up text that hadn't loaded yet. Surely my mother wasn't typing those words on her iPhone, sitting in the kitchen I'd helped remodel, using the Wi-Fi I paid for every single month. Just immediate family. I scrolled up. No previous messages. No, how are you? No, hope work is going well. Just this. A polite clinical notification that I had been removed from the guest list. Like unsubscribing from a newsletter. I was the one who'd paid for the Whitmore's hotel suite. 2 nights. The nice one downtown with the harbor view. Because my sister said it was important to make a good impression on Dorian's parents. Because first impressions matter. Because you ever get a second chance. I'd put it on my credit card without hesitation. Don't worry about it, I'd told Serafina. Just focus on your exams. She didn't worry about it. She didn't thank me for it. She didn't even mention it when she told my mother I shouldn't be at Thanksgiving. My mom knew I paid for that suite. She just forgot to mention it. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed, then went dark. Until my reflection appeared. Work shirt with my company logo, hair pulled back, dark circles under my eyes that no amount of sleep seemed to erase anymore. I looked like what I am, an HVAC technician. A woman who smells like refrigerant and metal instead of perfume and office coffee. Who wears steel-toed boots to family dinners and gets asked, "So when are you going back to school?" Like what I do isn't real work. Like the business I built from nothing is just a phase I'll grow out of. I didn't scream. I didn't call and demand an explanation. I just screenshot the message, filed it in a folder on my phone labeled receipts, and went back to counting canisters. But here's what they didn't know. Here's what my sister, Serafina, didn't consider when she told my mother she was embarrassed by me. I was the one paying for her law degree. Every semester, every textbook, every late-night panic call when she was short on rent, every "I'll pay you back" that never came. I was the one who kept the lights on while she built the life she was too ashamed to let me be part of. And this Thanksgiving, while they sat around the table clinking glasses and taking photos for Instagram, I was sitting alone at a diner in North Seattle, eating turkey that tasted like cardboard, being served by a waitress named Cheryl who said, "On the house, sweetheart. No one should eat alone today." That was the moment I understood something I'd been refusing to see for years. They didn't forget me. They decided. So I made a decision of my own. Before I tell you what I did, I need you to do 3 things. First, hit that subscribe button right now. This story gets absolutely wild, and if you're not subscribed, YouTube might not show you how it ends. Second, smash that like button if you've ever been the one holding everything together while someone else got the credit. Third, drop a comment below telling me, have you ever been excluded from something you helped build? Have you ever given everything to people who were ashamed to be seen with you? Because I have. And I'm about to tell you exactly what happened. Let's go. My phone rang as I was locking up the shop. The buzzing neon sign flickered in the twilight. That old blue HVAC tube I'd been meaning to replace for months. Cold Seattle air bit through my jacket, sharp and wet the way only Pacific Northwest winters can be, but there was a warmth in my chest. Thanksgiving was only a few days away. For once, I wasn't scrambling. I'd scheduled jobs so my crew could have time off, prepped bonuses, sorted payroll, even picked out a nice bottle of wine to bring to dinner, the kind my mom always pretended was too fancy, then drank half the bottle herself. My life felt good, stable, like I'd actually built something solid. My phone lit up. "Mom," I smiled automatically. Could almost hear her before I answered. Honey, should you bring pecan or pumpkin? You know your Uncle Larry will throw a fit if there's no pecan." I hit accept. "Hey, Mom." Honey." Right away, something was off. Mom always had a certain sharpness in her voice, brisk, clipped, like she was running a meeting that needed to end 10 minutes ago. Even her affection felt efficient. But now, she sounded hesitant, careful, like she was holding a hot coal in her mouth and trying not to burn herself. "I wanted to talk to you about Thanksgiving," she said. A little knot formed in my stomach. "Sure, what's up?" A pause, just long enough to make me grip the keys in my hand. "We think it would be best if you skip dinner this year." I actually laughed, not because it was funny, because my brain couldn't process the words. "Wait, what? What do you mean, skip dinner? We always do Thanksgiving together." Mom let out a soft sigh, the kind she used when she was about to drop something heavy and wanted to pretend it was a pillow. "Well, it's just that this year we're keeping things a little more formal." My heart sank even before she said the next part. "Your sister's boyfriend is bringing his parents. The Whitmores are very established. And we just thought it might be better if it was just close family." Close family. The words echoed in my skull. "I am close family, Mom." "Of course you are, sweetheart." Her voice dripped with forced sincerity, like she'd practiced it in the mirror. "It's just, you know how these professional families can be. It's important for Serafina to make a good impression." And there it was, the underlying message, the one they never say outright but always imply. My job, my life. My work boots and refrigerant smell in calloused hands. Not good enough. "So what, Mom? Because I don't wear a suit and tie, I'm not good enough to sit at the table." Don't make this about you." I laughed, short, hollow. "Oh, I see. So it's not about me. It's just about making sure Serafina isn't embarrassed by her lowly sister, right?" Silence. She didn't respond. Didn't have to. That silence said everything. "It's just one dinner," she said finally. "We'll make it up to you. Maybe a family brunch next weekend." Scraps. She was offering me scraps. I hung up. I sat there in my truck with the engine idling, my fingers still locked around the steering wheel, breathing shallow. One dinner. After years of helping Serafina. After paying her tuition, her rent, her textbooks, her emergency funds. After making sure she never had to worry about a damn thing. One dinner, and apparently that was all it took to decide I was expendable. Not presentable, not good enough. My phone buzzed again, a text from my cousin Genevieve. "I need to tell you something, it's about Thanksgiving." I hesitated. Already knew it wouldn't be good. Nobody sends a text like that followed by "never mind, it's fine." I overheard Mom and Serafina talking the other day. Serafina told her she didn't want you there because she was afraid it would make her look bad in front of Dorian's parents. I stared at the screen. She said, and I quote, "I don't want them to think we come from a working-class background." I read it twice. My own sister. The same one whose tuition I'd been paying for 3 years. The same one who called me in tears when she was short on rent. The same one who moved into a nicer apartment because she knew I had her. Ashamed. She was ashamed of me. Ashamed of the work I did. Ashamed of the life I built with my own hands. Ashamed of the fact that she came from the same people I did. I wanted to throw my phone against the dashboard, but I didn't. I just sat there. And for the first time, I let myself remember all the signs I'd ignored. When Serafina was 12 and I was 16, she came home crying. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in my room, studying for a biology exam, when I heard the front door slam and then the sound of her footsteps. Heavy, stomping, the way she always walked when she wanted the whole house to know she was upset. I found her in the kitchen, standing in the doorway, face red and swollen, shoulders shaking. Mom was already there, kneeling down, smoothing her hair back from her forehead. A girl in her class had pointed at her shoes, white sneakers from Payless, $22 on clearance, the ones with the scuff marks on the toes that wouldn't buff out, and said, "My nanny wears those." Not "those are cute." Not "where did you get those?" "My nanny wears those." The implication clear. These are servant shoes. These are not for people like us. Mom pulled her close and said something I've never forgotten. "Don't worry, baby. One day, no one will even know." She didn't say, "There's nothing wrong with Payless shoes." She didn't say, "That girl was being cruel and her opinion doesn't matter." She said, "One day, no one will know." I think that was the moment Serafina decided that knowing was the enemy. That if people found out where she came from, what our parents could afford, what our house looked like before the renovation, what her sister did for work, she'd lose everything she'd worked so hard to become. She just never realized that everything she'd worked so hard to become was built on my back. There were other moments. Her high school graduation. I sat in the bleachers, 3rd row from the back, because Mom said the family seats were reserved for parents and grandparents. I watched Serafina walk across the stage in her cap and gown, watched she shake hands with the principal, watched her scan the crowd for familiar faces. Her eyes passed right over me. Not a wave, not a nod, not even a flicker of recognition. Just nothing. I told myself she was nervous, overwhelmed. There were 500 people in that auditorium. She couldn't be expected to spot everyone, but she spotted Mom and Dad immediately. Waved. Blew kisses. I was invisible. Her college orientation. I offered to drive her. I had a truck. I could carry all her dorm supplies, and I'd taken the day off work specifically to help her move in. "That's okay," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Mom and Dad are taking me." I could follow behind. "No, really, it's fine. We don't have that much stuff." She had 14 plastic bins, 3 suitcases, a mini fridge, and a mattress topper. I know because I helped her pack them. I drove separately anyway. Told myself I just wanted to see the campus. Parked 3 rows away from her dorm and watched my parents help her carry her things inside. She didn't ask where I was. Didn't text, didn't call. I sat in my truck for 45 minutes before driving home. Her college graduation, 3 years later. I sat in the back, 3rd row from the last. She posed for photos with Mom and Dad, with her friends, with her favorite professor. I offered to take the picture so she wouldn't have to ask a stranger. "Thanks," she said. Not thanks, sis. Not thanks, Elle. Just thanks. Like I was staff. The Christmas party for her law school friends. I found out about it through Instagram, a photo of her in a glittery dress, standing in someone's beautifully decorated apartment, surrounded by people holding champagne flutes. Candles flickering on the mantel. A Christmas tree in the background, tastefully adorned with white lights and silver ornaments. Caption: celebrating with the best people. I wasn't invited. When I asked about it, casually, carefully, trying not to sound hurt, she laughed it off. Oh, that was just a study thing that turned into a party. You wouldn't have liked it. It was all law students talking about contracts and torts. Boring stuff. I wouldn't have minded. Besides, it was all last minute. I didn't even know about it until the day of. I swallowed it. Told myself it wasn't worth fighting over. The time I was in her area for a job. Commercial HVAC call in the university district. An office building 3 blocks from her apartment. I texted her. Hey, I'm nearby. Want to grab dinner? She agreed reluctantly. Sent me the address. When I pulled up, she was already standing outside. Didn't invite me in. Rushed me to the nearest off-campus cafe. Kept glancing over her shoulder like she was checking to see who might be watching. Introduced me to exactly no one. When the barista asked if we were sisters, she hesitated. Half a second, just long enough for me to notice. This is my relative, she said. Relative, not sister, not family.